Recording in progress.
Okay. We ready? We're live? All right. Welcome, everybody. It is our open house for IKYA Aligned Crystal Healing Collection 3. We're just so excited about the next phase of this journey through crystals and really the most advanced spiritual study that one can get, because you have these amazing tools that you get to hold in your hand along the way. Tonight's agenda is really about bringing you a combination of an opportunity to ask questions. Hopefully we've got a whole bunch of people here in the audience and also on Zoom. Ask your questions about the upcoming course. And then we have 4 amazing students who are part of IKYA Aligned Crystal Healing Collections 1 and 2, who will be sharing some of their stories of how this course has worked with them in their lives. So we're really excited to make a little informal, fun kind of community gathering tonight to share more about what this journey really is.
First, a little background. When it comes to this course, I've planned it for almost 20 years now. And the purpose behind it is to change how we work with crystals. Often, when it comes to crystal work, it's very self-centered. It's you use this crystal to heal your emotion there, or take away a pain there, like help you to think more positively, all of that, which is always about compensating for our own imbalances. And instead of actively doing something about them ourselves, we externalize the healing process, and then we want help, we need help, and then we use a tool to make that happen. And it's not sufficient. Crystals are so much more than that. And I think also where we are on the planet, we have to take more responsibility for our own healing, take responsibility for our own spirituality. And those of you who know anything about me, you know that all I teach is how to empower your own spiritual journey, how to become fully aware of what you are spiritually, and to grow into that, both responsibility, but also the opportunity that comes with it. And with that, we need to build competence. We need to explore our tools. We need to become much more aware of ourselves as the individual walking. So instead of surrendering, submitting, following, reading all the books and doing all the right things and having all the right practices, it's about developing your own ability to determine what is right for you at any given moment. And learn about how to develop your own tools, learning how to develop life as a spiritual practice for real, not as a thought, not as a way to pose, ooh, I'm spiritual, but learning how to do it for real. That takes, reflection. It takes a lot of peeling, but also for you to discover what is genuine within yourself. Because you're not here as a person, you're here as soul, as essence. And to let that fully unfold in this lifetime, that's really what we're all here to do. And how we achieve that is irrelevant. It's that we achieve it. That is the point. And we can only learn how to do this when we fully take responsibility and set ourselves free from all systems, all submission, and learn about ourselves as a unique being, and learn to be in that dialogue with life directly without anyone in between. I am not someone standing between you and life. I'm not one who wants followers. I want people to stop following. But what I can do is to teach you how to fully wake up as yourself, and to learn how to walk your path your way so you don't need any help. And what we're building here is also a community of individuals who do exactly that, because we can still inspire each other. We can still learn from each other, but with the premise that the individual's authority and kind of right to one's own path and unfoldment That's the foundation. And that makes it much more fun to explore and to be in that dialogue and to use different tools and practices, because it's about what do you actually get out of it? What happens with you, within you and in your outer life when you practice. And the wonderful thing about working with crystals is not just the crystals, but what we refer to as the guardians, which are you can call it spiritual masters or consciousness that basically are responsible for that type of vibration of that channel, which any particular crystal represents. So you will also receive teachings directly from them. The wonderful thing, I think, about this way of studying spiritual principles is that you get tuned in. So the crystals will assist you biologically, your brain, your emotions, your thoughts, to be filtered in a certain way. You move into a specific setting, which then will assist you in seeing life a specific way, thinking and feeling and behaving a certain way that will then be in alignment with the teachings. So you get maximum out of the teaching and the process beyond what you can do on your own. And we've talked to so many people in this course with very, I would say, limited experience with spiritual practices. And they say, I don't know how to do this, but it's doing it on me, And that is exactly the purpose. Through having a crystal that has been aligned, and we'll talk more about that later, it becomes a channeling object. And it will affect you no matter what you do, no matter what you think. It will work on you. And you will be tuned into this, and you will absorb the teachings because you will be in alignment with them. And, to most people's surprise, once they get a new stone, they can see the setting in their life just shifting. Many people experience also in the week before they get a new stone, they can see that, life is changing and the whole focus shifts. And when they get the new stone, they understand exactly what it was about. So this is a very dynamic and practical way of working with spiritual principles. It's not about belief systems. It's not about, philosophizing. It's about utilizing your life as an actual spiritual arena for training. I train you, I don't teach you. Training is about, conveying techniques, tools, and empowering you, educating you so that you can be free and explore on your own. So we work in your life with you as a person. Your inner life, your outer life will melt together. You will see things manifest. You will see how the teachings start manifesting in your life because there are spiritual beings then, assisting you. So this way of studying means also that you get to accelerate your spiritual growth. But because it's so streamlined, you will experience less of your own resistance. Because normally when you are exposed to a spiritual principle, you have a lot of resistance, which is the reason why you haven't integrated this principle already. That distance is the karma. And when that is being released, normally it will hit you in the face, and you will have to live through your own resistance, and you will have all sorts of manifestations and problems as you all are aware of. In this type of process where you will be more tuned to the teachings, you can focus on absorbing them and studying them and growing into them rather than be preoccupied with everything that happens due to your own resistance. So instead of, falling over, tripping in your own feet, you can stay focused on the teachings. And for many, they've been shocked to how much they actually grow because they're used to every inch being a complete disaster. They will have to go through so many things. But now they see they grow faster, but with less suffering. And that to me is the beauty of this type of study, is that you get to accelerate your spiritual growth. You get to work on your own karma, but it's streamlined and it's more fun because you will be drawn to the potentials. You will be drawn to setting yourself free rather than just focusing on what is not working and what is, hitting you in the face now. And also, remember that you consist of the full spectrum of life. And you are aware of very little of it because as a person, we grow into our habits, we grow into our patterns, which means that we narrow everything down. We find, our favorite colors, and that's what we stick with. And as we get older, we have a tendency to stick even more to them. With these crystals, because you're actively adjusted, you get to experience yourself in a slightly different way each month. Because the setting in you as energy and consciousness will be changed. And with each stone, you enter a new space within yourself, which means even when you look at the same issues, the same themes in your life, you will be looking at them through different glasses, studying different principles, and you can then discover that, in this type of situation, I'm not just studying one thing, I'm studying 20 different things I didn't know because we're used to being in one setting and we go into our patterns. So opening yourself up, discovering more of the colors that are to life, and having more fun with your spiritual journey. Going from a journey of suffering and hope to more fun and exploration and the experience of mastery and getting things done and having breakthroughs and getting results you've never had before. This is the typical thing, the typical feedback that we get is that people are able to do things that have never been able to do before. They have these breakthroughs consistently. So we just move through a lot of karma and a lot of teaching. And this course is extremely compact. So you need to listen to it a lot and meditate a lot because when you listen to the teachings over and over again, you will absorb more. Many feel overwhelmed in the beginning because it's so compact and you have to study. But, this course is not a course where you are a passenger on a bus. You get the keys to your own sports car. And you need to be in that mindset and wanting to take ownership and control of your own spiritual path and your own spiritual awakening and learn how to do it for real. Then each month will move you through these different stages, and it just gets more and more interesting as you build your knowledge and your competence. So this is not the traditional crystal course where you learn where to place a crystal and hope for the best. This is working on the next level where each crystal represents a vibration and a channel representing specific spiritual principles and angles of spiritual studies to tune yourself more into life and then open up your own spiritual intelligence and your own toolbox, and for you to learn how to use them. And the moment you kind of unpack that, it's on to the next one, but it doesn't mean that you move on. It's like activating something in yourself, and then you play around with it for a month, and then it's on to the next thing, and you build your own competence because once it's activated, it's there permanently. And then you, over time, you have a lot of spheres that are activated, and you will feel drawn to working with a specific stone, maybe a specific day or a specific situation, and that will shift. So you will learn how to use your intuition and just be in that communication. So you will have, and also because you understand what each stone actually represents spiritually, you will know when you are drawn to a specific stone. You know what is going on in your life because then a specific crystal will say, okay, time to work. And you will know, you will often sense what it is about. So it will enhance your learning and the healing potential. Once you, for instance, enter a very difficult situation in life, working with a specific stone will give you the amplified consciousness to deal with it beyond your patterns. So you can actually open up your consciousness and then create solutions and healing and growth in ways that are never done before. So this is also part of the course over time to learn how to work with these beings and these channels to activate what is already within you. Do you have any comments?
No, my thought was to open up first for
Mm-hmm.
questions. Does anyone here in the audience have any questions? And again, it's the wide open field. Anything that you've been wondering about the course, details, how things work, whatever it might be. Also open it up to Zoom. On Zoom, if you want to ask a question, please signal through chat to IKYA and Marco, who are in back, that you would like to ask a question, because then we can unmute you on Zoom. So if there aren't any immediate questions, I don't see any hands going up.
Well, I can actually ask you a question, just like hands up. Like, how many of you have worked with crystals before? Okay. How many have not worked with crystals before? Good. I especially welcome you who have not worked with crystals before, because too many people working with crystals is a big step. Because, you know, in the whole kind of alternative field, you know, crystals is a bit of a cliche, right? Of the frustrated housewife who needs to be spiritual. It's that thing. This is not what we're doing. It's relating to crystals as vibrational structures that are able to channel consciousness and energy and information and then activate us, so we can then activate the same spectrum within ourselves and get to know it. So getting into it, if you're not used to it, will be fun. And for those of you who've already worked with crystals, but in a different way, you know, hold on to your hats. This is very different. And many of you will also maybe need a little bit of time adjusting to not relating to crystals the way you're used to. The typical feedback we've got also from people who are quite seasoned in working with crystal is that they are completely shocked, because this is different and it works on a whole different level. Also because what's coming through, of course, is different due to the alignment process, but also the effect it has on them more deeply. Because traditionally, again, crystals are being used to soothe whatever we feel is painful or uncomfortable. But this is more about opening you to everything you are. And that dynamic interaction is quite unusual for people. But this is where all the fun is. And you'll also experience communicating directly with the guardians, and you will have very concrete conversations. And some just get it like intuitively. You know, we are all different. We all have different also levels of experience. So when it comes to relating to spiritual beings, for some that can be very also, you know, what is this, you know? But for some people, they're used to it. So they kind of know when things come through, and they're able to separate what's their own fantasy and what is actually real. That can take years to figure out. But with this, also talking with people who've never really done anything with crystals before, or doubted the whole spiritual thing, they say it's so concrete that they cannot in any way get away from the fact that this is real. They see things happening, they see the communication, it's logical, it's concrete, and they can see also how it affects people around them, and in ways that they cannot make up. And that, to me, is also beautiful, because often spiritual work can seem a little bit abstract, you know, and faith-based. And of course, people are gullible. We're all gullible. So we can talk ourselves into believing anything, right? And this is why such an important part of what I teach is moving away from belief. Don't trust, don't believe, don't submit, like none of that. Recognize that you as a being have all the abilities to verify reality for yourself. But then we also have to learn how gullible we are. how easily fooled we are and how much our own fantasy will be mixed in with reality, and like separating all of that. So you understand how you work as a channel and as a vehicle, so your dialogue with life can be clean and clear and factual. And this is where you get over time in this program. Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful.
But also those who are standing in the back, if you want, we have empty chairs. It's not so formal tonight. Please come on up and find a chair and sit down.
Or lay down or do whatever.
So we've got a question online first and then one in the back of the room, right?
It's from Sandra, so you can ask her to.
Sandra in Germany. Yeah. But she's got two, right?
Hello.
Oh, do we have her?
Yes, hello from
Hi.
Germany. Do you hear us? Hi.
Yes, we hear you.
We are here more people. We are collected more people, and one of us has a question. How much time a day do we need to plan for studying? Because life is very busy. We all have no time. So
Oh, you know,
That's-
12 hours a day, right? You know.
It's actually an interesting question. Life is your study. The purpose of life is not to do things and then die. We are all here for the sole purpose of unfolding what we are spiritually. So it's not about not having time to do that, because that is all that matters. The rest dies when your body dies. The only thing you bring with you is, did you unfold more? Did you become more who you are? Did your consciousness expand? So the question should actually be the opposite. How much time do I have to use on my worthless, unproductive life? The point is to train over time, and this is what I really train people to do, is realize the potential of this being a spiritual practice. So we stop separating spirituality and putting it into a separate box and say, oh, now I'm spiritual. Now I'll just go home and beat my wife, right? Because that's the traditional thing. We lead a double life. In most spirituality and religion, people live a double life. They have the spiritual side and then they have the human side. And often the more you go into the religious spiritual, the worse you become as a person, because you actually don't do the work. So the whole key here is for it to be real. It is seeing your entire life as one arena. There is no separation. Everything is spiritual, because to me, spirituality is simply learning about what we are, learning about what life is, and learning about the purpose of the interaction. So there is not a single moment that is not spiritual. So what you learn in this course is to gradually open up and realize that, oh, my whole life is a spiritual practice. And then learning how to utilize that. So it's not limited to meditation. It's getting and starting to observe how life works through your life, how the communication works, how life is showing you how to heal, how to grow. So you can become an expert in being in your own dialogue. So you don't need to believe anything. So your whole life will be consumed by this. And in a way, that's why it's so simple. Because you will over time start recognizing that, oh, this is actually happening with each stone. Again, even people who've never been involved with anything spiritual, they see it and they can't deny it because it's so concrete. And you will have manifestations in your life describing and testing you, giving you opportunities to work on the teachings. So, at your work, things will happen that will reflect the teachings, giving you the opportunity to practice what you've learned. In your private life, it will happen. In between, it will happen. It will happen when you're asleep, when you're awake, when you're eating. Everything will become part of this. So, learning how to get rid of the separation between so-called spirituality and life, to me is imperative, because it's who you are, and the unfoldment of that matters. And normally when in human culture the separation is there, we miss out on everything, because this is the spiritual practice. This is why, again, when we have that separation, we're not being true, because it's only when we are at our worst that we're showing our true consciousness. We can all, try to pull ourselves together and show our sunny side and say, ooh, I'm in high consciousness. No, you're not. It's when we are at our absolute worst on our autopilots, that's how far we've actually come, because that's the floor, right? That's the foundation. And this is why we cannot separate it. We have to practice in our lives, because that's also where we show our level of consciousness. Over time, a shift happens. I describe it from, normally a human lives from the outside in. We're obsessed with the world and how it affects us, and we react, and we live in a state of reaction. Over time, that shifts. When you start realizing what you are as spiritual essence, and you start understanding that the dialogue you have with life is real, you start living from the inside out. And then you become much more interested in, how can I express my essence? How can I practice what I am? And to understand it, and to influence my own unfoldment, to not wait for someone to rescue me, but for me to learn how to do it. And then you want to utilize your own life as much as possible. You want to be present, because you realize that absolutely every single moment has the potential of growth and healing. And when you realize that for real, you look for the gem, you look for the golden nugget in each situation, because you know it's there. So you approach every situation, whether it's in your private life or work or whatever it is, with that intention, and you know there is something there, and life will show you. So it's 24 hours a day, because you live 24 hours a day. It's learning to live as the spiritual being that you truly are.
Okay, we have a question in the back, I think. Or was there a follow-up from Germany?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, there's one question from Diana. She wonders if there's going to be a recording of the teachings.
Yes, as we're doing tonight, everything is recorded. We post it at IKYA Learning, which is our online learning platform, and you have access to that throughout the entire course. So you can review the teachings both in audio and video as often as you'd like.
And what many people do, and we advise people to do it, whenever you have time, when you're doing something where you can listen, when you're driving your car or vacuuming or whatever, you can listen to the teachings and just let it be part of you, because every minute you spend with these teachings, it will grow on you, and you will reflect, and you will tune yourself in. So try to at least listen to it as much as possible. Some people listen to it also, when they're asleep. But try to actively listen as much as you possibly can.
And to me, one of the beauties of having a physical object, a lot of us work with different ways of sort of reminding ourselves of things. For me, I bring the crystal basically everywhere I go, work and on holiday and whatever, because seeing the physical crystal next to me will trigger me. But the added level in this course is that on occasion, I'm not the best at visualization and stuff, but on occasion I'll also recognize that it's kind of like having this teacher standing next to me with their hand on my shoulder, just gently reminding me of the principles, reminding me of the teaching. And so it's so much more than just a reminder. It's also that active presence working on me all the time, even when I'm not paying any attention. So we have a question in the back. Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Håkon. I'm speaking to the universe now. Hi, the whole. It's straight into what you're talking about now, and saying that you add another level to the work of crystals, and this is different from maybe what others are doing. So I'm curious because I guess you learned this into the classes or courses, but could you explain a little bit how? Maybe give a little glimpse of. You might be very specific.
How what?
How it is different than you say normal crystal work or what others do, and
Yes.
maybe give a little glimpse into how it actually you teach and or
Okay.
practice or work.
Again, what we teach are spiritual principles. So it's spiritual teachings from each guardian. So it's not about how to work with crystals. It's about the spiritual teachings and the principles and the practices that you can have in your life that then will be amplified through the crystal. So it's much more on the spiritual practices than traditional healing work and just, feeling the energy and meditating on it. It's very specific in the principles it represents and the angles. And I will not really say anything here because that belongs to the course. But I think that this also maybe people who have been participating in the course can explain more about, but it's first of all an advanced spiritual study. That's what it really is. With the help of crystals as a tuning you in so you can absorb more. So it's a different way of relating to crystals. And it's hardcore spiritual studies, but with a demand that you practice it in your life. That is what it's all about. And that's basically how concrete I can be because, as I said, like each teaching belongs to each stone. But it's definitely, just in this respect, it's very different from traditional crystal work.
And if I can offer my perspective on that, that the principles that the crystals represent, the teachings that come through, that's simply the starting point. And from there, it's up to us to actively engage them or not. But, most of us just get hooked and love kind of pulling the principles apart and seeing how they're playing out in my workplace, in my relationships with my family or friends, in those different ways, because you start to see the parallels that as that principle has been opened, then the things that are manifesting in my life start to match up how I can learn more about that principle. And that to me is the biggest difference between any other crystal course and this one, is the level of sort of activity, proactivity. It's alive and it's working all the time. So it's unfolding throughout the entire time you're working with each crystal. And because it kind of becomes a part of your spiritual anatomy, that crystal continues to work with you over time, even when we move on to the next one. So it's that level of dynamism and sort of proactive engagement with the teachings behind the crystal that so it's not really about the healing per se or the sensing the energies. It's more about engaging the actual principles. Yeah.
And I think also, when you look at the traditional information about crystals, that's one level. What you will be introduced to is a much more advanced approach. So you will recognize some of the more common explanation information about each crystal, but the context and the level will be very different. And there is also information in this course about each crystal that is not commonly known. So it adds to that, giving us the ability to stretch and discover a crystal in a very new way. And often, the information that is known about certain crystals, when it's lifted and you get additional information, then the kind of basic information also makes sense, but in a very, very different way. So it's simply a much more advanced type of course. Yeah.
Can I have a follow-up?
Sure.
with the microphone, please.
Yeah, thanks. I'll just
Is it on? Yeah. Okay.
Is it on? Now I can
You
hear
have
me.
to speak right into it.
Like you said, thank you, by the way. When you said you have your crystal in your pocket and it's more than a reminder, could you just explain 1 minute? What do you do? What is your perception? What is your angle? How is this more than a reminder? What is that added level for you going to
For me,
work or something? Yeah.
Again, I'll take the example, like work is where I have the crystal present next to my computer almost all the time. And the principles that each crystal represent, it's kind of like there's somebody standing next to me asking questions. An example is like I got a challenging feedback about an interaction with a colleague. And it was really interesting because normally I'd go right into that kind of emotional reaction and defend myself and that kind of thing. But it was like I got this little knock, wait a minute, there's a mirroring here that actually she's pretty on. The feedback she's giving you is, if you listen to it, there's an opportunity to actually grow and improve the way that the person that you are in this space. And I would not, in my mind, I would not have had that level of sort of interaction with that principle at that time if I'd not had the crystal there, and if I hadn't had that practice and sort of mentally, emotionally, and spiritually connecting with the teachings, at least in the back of somewhere in here, and then it sometimes rotates and comes to the front. Yeah.
It's basically like having an extra organ, because when they're aligned, it's having an organ where your energy and what you vibrate will be kind of filtered through continuously. And you will be affected so that how you think, how you feel, how you process, what you do will change. And it's concrete. It's not belief, it's concrete. It happens. So it's a vibrational presence that activates you and changes you. So you think, feel, and act differently. And that does not happen with regular crystals. And we'll get back to why.
Did we have a question online?
Yes.
All right.
So I will read. There's a question from Christine, who wonders how we best live with the crystals. Where and how in the house do they live and rest when they is not actively studying with us? Spheres in the plants or in the window, a place that is theirs. Thank you.
Okay. How to better live with them. It sounds like, house pets, just feed them grass. And it's like, I think number one, respecting the crystals is respecting yourself. These are structures. It's important to understand that crystals are living beings. They're structural beings, but they still are alive. And it's difficult for humans to relate to living beings not being animate, because humans create this hierarchy. The more they look and behave like humans, the more alive they are, right? So if they have a face that looks like human, they're extra alive. And if they please us, they're very much alive. And the further we go along, they're less alive and therefore less valuable. And then we have inanimate beings that we call objects, and we don't think that it's consciousness. It's alive the same way we are. It's just different. It's a different level of evolution, but these are living beings, and especially when they're aligned, they channel, they are aware. And so for many people, recognizing themselves as a spiritual being is a stretch. That's also part of the practice. When you have a structural spiritual presence, when you acknowledge yourself as a spiritual being, you can then open up. And you will have that type of dialogue and respect. So treat them with respect. I always advise that you have kind of a special place, that you just, don't have them lying around. It's disrespectful to yourself. And, turn it into where you truly try to be authentically present to yourself with these stones. See them as external organs, vibrational organs that assist you, and it just build more and more organs. So you become more aware and your energy and presence becomes more authentic. So try to be in that state of gratitude and curiosity and love, and treat them, based on that. And the more you work with this process, the more you recognize them as living beings and what they represent and what is kind of behind them. And it becomes quite natural to treat them like friends, So it's a combination of an organ and a friend, But it's natural to do our best to both respect them and to kind of show our love, because it also means that we open up, right? We can only access what we respect. Everything is available in life, but we're only able to access, when we are in alignment and when we have a loving attitude. So we need to bring ourselves out of what we call the horizontal consciousness, which is the biological everyday consciousness dominated by programs, and try to be more awake, more alive. And at least with the interactions with the crystals, you develop more of that sensitivity and you can feel more of that vibration and energy. So you also get inspired to do more of it, because ultimately it's about you as an instrument and the crystals assisting you in opening up and to become more of that vehicle connected to life.
Some people are really highly adept to being spiritually naturally, and they are very evolved naturally alone, and so they don't think that they need anything else. What would you say to that? And also, how is this different from practicing a religion?
I would say that it's up to each individual to figure out what they need at any given point. That is fundamental for what I teach. I don't see the point in convincing anyone of anything, because we're free beings. And even if we're drawn to something that doesn't work, something that blocks it, well, there's a reason for that. That means that represents our karma, our resistance, and what we need to work on. So what we're drawn to when it comes to our own growth and healing or self-destruction, that's up to each individual, and everything works because we will always gravitate towards where our resistance is. And sometimes also we gravitate towards where the healing is. But it's for each individual to figure out, and there is no such thing as the wrong path, the wrong practice. It's up to each individual to figure out, does this actually work for me, where I'm at, and recognizing that we're all unique. All paths are unique. And what works for one person may harm someone else. And back to, this is why religions don't work, because they are based on belief. And belief is not doing it. It's learning that there is a right way to do it. And if you do that, and if you submit, everything will be good. And it never works for anyone. You get stuck in that level. You can learn a lot about certain things, but all religions kind of go to a certain level and then it stops, because you have to shift gears. At some point, you have to grow up and take responsibility, grow out of belief systems, and learn to unfold yourself as a free spiritual being. And that process of what's often referred to as spiritual awakening, it can take a long time. I'm not talking within a lifetime. It can take millions of years. It's like, and that's fine. We all at some point start waking up to the fact that we exist as an autonomous spiritual presence, and that our path of unfolding what we are is a unique one. And therefore, we can't copy anyone. We can inspire each other and learn, but we have to reinvent everything for ourselves. It's also, you know, when I teach, I make very clear that whatever I teach, please do not copy, do not follow. You have to reinvent. You have to pull it apart and test it out. Practice it and see, does this work for me? Maybe a variation will work better, you know, and feel free to do that. And to not feel, oh, am I doing something wrong? You know, no. It's only when you reinvent that you're doing it right, because then you're exploring how you can customize this principle or this information for yourself and your path. There is no such thing spiritually as one size fits all. It's impossible because you are unique. And that's the thing, you know, in a religion, you're on the bus. You know, you're a tourist, and that's fine. You're being shown around because you don't know how to do it yourself. And that's fine. That's where you start. So sit on the bus and you can be comfortable and you can look out the window and someone else is driving, but it's still valuable, right? You learn a lot from that, but at some point you just want to grab the wheel because, oh, there's something interesting over there. I want to go there. And then you want to get off the bus. It's natural, right? Some people are excited about, oh, there's a bus, you know, and that's fine. We're all on different journeys, different levels of our own evolution. And to me, it's so important that we respect every single expression, every single individual, every single path, because it's up to each and every one of us to figure out what works. So religious studies are more collective, and you get rules because you need it, because you don't understand life. You have no experience of that connection with nature and life communicating directly. It's all kind of faith-based, and it's safe and it's controlled. So again, it's that bus experience. And there's nothing wrong with it, but you grow out of it at some point. What I teach is for those who have already left the bus and discover, oh, okay, what do I do now? And they stand there with their Ferrari and the keys. They're like, maybe I should learn how to drive this thing. Because having left the bus does not mean that you've learned how to drive. You still need to learn how to drive. And this is why drivers teach others how to drive. And then, you know, all spiritual teachers, we know that it's not up to us to decide where people drive. We only want to teach people how to drive, how to even repair their own cars, how to become completely free. But where you go is up to you. And that's the whole point of freedom. And that part is opposite of religious teachings. Do this or else, right? That's more of the religious framework, because that gives people guidelines. When you become competent, when you know how to drive your own car, you can go wherever you want and experience whatever you want. And you can still learn how to deal with it and understand what it is you're exploring to verify if this is actually making you grow or not. So it's a very different process.
All right, I think we're going to shake it up a little bit and invite our first guest up to join us. She's had quite a beautiful exploration and a fair bit of reinvention, should I dare say. So, IKYA, watch your microphone. We're going to move the chairs a little bit. So
Mine too?
Yep.
Okay. Moving them over.
No, yours is moving this way.
Oh, this way. Right. Okay.
There.
There we go.
Good. So, Marta, please. There we go. And Marta would like to share with you guys a little bit about what this course has been doing with her.
Yeah, I think it's done a lot. And so this is a small part of it, but it really fits with what you were just talking about. Most of my life, or my whole life, I've been suppressing myself, making myself really small, hating myself. And it took a lot of time, a lot of my time, all of my time. And through this course, it's a big shift for me in this. I'm moving out of it. And it's almost unbelievable because I'm in the middle of it right now. And 1 year ago, this is a part of my journey. 1 year ago, I watched a YouTube video, and there was this girl who talked about the North and going to the North. And I was like crying my heart out of this, just interacting with this video. I've been studying with the crystals for a year, and I was crying and crying. And later, when I was going to tell someone about this video, I was crying my heart out once again. And I was like, wow, am I leaving? Am I going north? Yeah, I'm going. And without thinking about it or anything, I just knew that I'm going north and nothing more. Just that my heart was, it was a really deep longing. So in a couple of months, I quit my new job, and I left my relationship and our big house and a very, very safe, like built up from the ground up business and courses we had to cancel. And I was like, I'm going, I'm leaving. And I found this camper van, a really old, beautiful camper van that I rented. And I went behind this wheel with the keys and I drove down this from my house and my life, leaving everything behind. It was the most unreal experience in my life, and I had a lot of them, mostly really painful, just been thrown to the floor, but this was me driving. So it was like, wow, I am doing this. I'm choosing it, and I'm doing it, and I'm driving, and it was just crazy. And this was in October. And after this, I've been driving and moving and exploring with the crystals and with myself. And it's truly a transformation. And the image of me sitting in this car driving, it's just the image. And it's so much really happening in it. And I see that an example is that how I meet challenges in my life right now that are huge. I'm standing. I'm not falling. I'm standing, and I'm really strong, even though I'm still really vulnerable and scared and freaking out in the middle of like chaotic, but at the same time, I'm like centered, and I'm saying to life, okay, bring it on. I'm learning. I'm shedding this. I'm done with playing small, and I'm done with suppressing myself, and it's so beautiful and so painful. And these friends, they are truly friends for me. They are showing me and guiding me and teaching me and showing me myself and life. And yeah, that's just a very brief.
So what have you discovered about yourself? Think of what have you unfolded in yourself?
That I thought I was this very serious, kind of dark, meant for suffering and uphill movement, or like working and striving to get anywhere. And now I'm like, am I really this light and colorful? And could it be this easy? The things are
Right.
like coming more, and I see them.
Yeah.
It's not because this cake is for me or this color is for me. It's not just for everyone else.
Right.
So I think that is part of that. I'm seeing myself as a part of everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that movement, because many people can relate to that, and one of the most kind of fundamental principles that we work with in different ways is how to move out of suffering.
Yeah.
Because suffering is the collective mental illness that all humans suffer from, obviously. But still, there's an addiction to suffering, and it takes a lot of work to allow oneself to move beyond suffering. And also with your patterns, your identity was very suffer-based. So how do you experience kind of that movement? Because it's not completely, but you have definitely loosened up. and I think that's such a wonderful achievement, right? But how would you describe like what it takes to start that movement out of like suffering as addiction?
I don't know if I know, but I've been really addicted. I'm still a bit addicted, but to really start to just listen to this deep cry of longing to go north and then do it, then showing myself that I'm here, I'm willing to do what I'm really longing for. I'm willing to live my life, and I need to show myself that. And that is what I'm doing. So when I felt this crystal course, it's too expensive, I don't know if I will connect with it. And it was like, but you're doing it, I'm doing it. No matter what, I'm doing it. And that is so respectful and so loving. And as I grow this love and respect for myself, actually listening to this pulse and aliveness, that is me, I grow this love for myself, and the suffering start like dripping off. Something new is like blooming, and then the suffering is not so needed anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing with us, Marta. We can put the chairs back in the middle.
Okay.
Are we roughly centered, Marco? A bit closer?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Do we have any more questions?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, we need the microphone.
Yes, we have. As always.
We have a house full down in Munich.
Yes. Yay. Can you give an example on a guardian? For example, like the teaching and the principles and how this may then play out, like in practical life, how does it look? And also maybe what is actually a guardian?
Okay. Let's start with what a guardian is. Now, there are many different ways to incarnate. Humans have a tendency to think that we incarnate as humans and that's it, right? Remember that when you look at human evolution, almost half of all humans that have ever existed live now. That means that most humans alive now have never incarnated as humans before. We incarnate other places mostly. This planet is one out of infinite numbers. Like there are trillions upon trillions of places to incarnate. Just think of all the life forms on this planet and think of all the places that there is life and the evolution there. And that's just one dimension. There are infinite amounts of dimensions and universes with life, and we incarnate all over. So if one was to remove this planet, nobody would notice. It's like removing one droplet of water from the ocean. No one would notice. So you incarnate all other places mostly. And many of you have never been human before. And many of you will never be human again. This is a short visit. And you're drawn to this planet because of what it is going through right now, which is also the reinvention of the human culture. Humans are still very primitive, and many of you incarnate as part of lifting it by introducing new ways of being human. So we can incarnate in different life forms. There are infinite ways of incarnating. One can incarnate even as planets. One can incarnate as structures. There are so many different varieties because incarnation is basically when you attach part of your consciousness to something and experience through it. That's really what incarnation is. So a thought can be an incarnation. An emotion can be an incarnation. If you love your car, that can be an incarnation. A relationship can be an incarnation. So even within one lifetime, you can have incarnations within it. And these beings are just souls incarnating in a different way. So one can also incarnate in cycles, having not necessarily even your own body, but where you get to experience through the movement of other things, just like, you get the benefit of having bacteria in your intestines. That's part of your lifetime. It's part of theirs too. But, they are also individual bacteria. You just experience it. So there are so many different ways of expressing consciousness and incarnating. And when you incarnate as what we often refer to as a guardian, is simply that type of crystal is your body. That type of channeling and carrying that vibration, and also how to introduce that becomes what you do. Just like you as a person, you have your talents, you have your energy, you have your uniqueness, and you are also here to learn how to unfold that and apply it to the world, because that's your gift. Guardians, if you can think of like each vibration available that kind of makes up this reality, just being different colors, right? Think of it as an octave of vibration. So we don't just need, just like on the piano, you have the octaves. For it to make sense, you need to have, chords, you need to have, melodies. So it's all about combining different vibrational information and seeing like, what does that mean? What does this mean? What manifests when you combine that vibration, that information? So crystals represent a whole spectrum of colors when it comes to vibrational information. So because they're structures, and these are life forms that, a lifetime can last for billions of years, which is a long time, but in eternity, it's still like that. A guardian can then incarnate with that life form and stay with it and in it until that life form does not exist anymore. So we can talk billions and billions of years as more of a structural incarnation, where you carry a certain channel, a certain vibration that is part of you, and this becomes how you express it. So just think, when you have a talent and you have become very aware of it, let's say that you're a concert pianist, that's what you do. And that becomes your identity. You specialize in doing that as part of studying yourself in a specific way in that lifetime. So when you incarnate as a guardian, it's the same thing. You specialize in holding a particular type of structure and vibration and information, and that will then kind of pump its energy and information into this reality, and then in a way define the octave of vibration where everything manifests and incarnates into. So it's just like the colors that you can see, you can only see them because it's part of sunlight. It's part of how light operates here. It's part of the spectrum. So it's the same thing. So it's a different way to incarnate. But often when you have those types of incarnations, because you have fully been able to release an aspect of yourself, and then you just study how to apply this in a bigger scale, which is what we all spiritually are studying in different ways. The part of becoming fully aware spiritually is to recognize what you are as essence, your uniqueness, what you carry that is specific to you. We often refer to that as your spiritual signature. And then how to apply this to life and be co-creational and see how what you are becomes part of all life. So they've often reached the level in their own evolution where part of what they represent as a spiritual individual has been fully realized. And then they're studying then, how do I apply this? what happens, for instance, on a whole planet. You know, when I hold this set of vibration and that has been introduced, what happens? And so they can study themselves, they study co-creation, and they study manifestation by looking at that for several billion years. So we all go through all sorts of incarnations. But for them, this is what they do. They both hold that set of vibration as an ingredient in this universe, and they also study their own co-creation through it. And this is also why they become a partner in your own evolution, in your own spiritual studies, because they study also through you. They study by seeing what can be achieved, what can grow, what can heal. So they're very much present when first it's productive also for them. So that's how that works. I can then talk a little bit about alignment and what we mean by that. Now, if you understand that crystals are living beings, they can also die, right? All bodies die. Plants die, humans die, everything dies, including crystals. And some die, you know, naturally, some are killed. Remember also what humans are doing to this planet puts a strain on everything. And even how crystals are harvested can kill them. Because if you think of them as structural life forms that channel certain energy, if they are exposed to shocks, they can basically go into freeze mode. They can close down. And today, most crystals are dead. It means they will passively reflect your own energy, which is what people often connect to. So it will be there because the structure is there, so your own energy will be reflected and can then be amplified and help you in you becoming more aware. And that's okay. That's one level. When something is aligned this way, it means, I've compared it to a leaf still being on the tree. It is connected to the source, which means that the energy will flow through it, just the way it does on a leaf. The moment a leaf falls from the tree, it will die. So this is connected, all these crystals are connected, and the guardians are also assisting in programming them specifically for this type of spiritual study, which means they are amplified. And, you know, many people in the course also have had experiences where they can see the stones changing before their eyes. When we align them, the alignment process is two parts. Number one, making sure that they are of the right quality and that they're alive to start with, but then also connected to the guardian so that they start kind of channeling through that stone. They're able to project themselves through it. Then the second part is then aligning it to you, which means it's basically connected to your vibrational DNA. This is when it becomes an organ. And some people are able to feel when it happens because that stone will then, first of all, work for you. It can be wherever it wants to be in the world, it will still be your organ. And it will still begin to influence you because it then is adjusted to you as signature. So with that alignment process, the guardian is able to project through the stones and then reach you. This is why it's a process where you can basically just sit there and it will still work. Because once it's aligned, it becomes part of you, and the guardian and the kind of mother crystals, as we call them, will start also, you know, working on your vibrational field. And that's a whole different ball game. And people feel this, you know, but the fun thing is also when we align them physically, they change. You know, every time I work on alignment, one can see that the crystal changes. They can change color, they can change quality, they can change pattern. And often as you work on your crystals, they will also change. And you know, for instance, when it comes to like clear quartz, it's very easy to see. Sometimes, you know, some people in the course have experienced this. Also, when they come to me for a session, for instance, and they have the crystal, it can be clear. You know, by the end of a session, it's milky white. It's how it works. You know, and it's like, what can they actually change? You know, yes, they're living beings. And they will then absorb your energy and work on filtering, and sometimes that will cause structural changes. It's visible. And sometimes it's happening, you can see it happening while it's happening. And sometimes you can just see it from day to day that it's changing. Many people in the course have experienced their stones like changing, and I think most have experienced that more than once. It's part of it. And, you know, I've had complaints from people say, oh, when I got my stone, it's so beautiful. And now, like, what? It's you know, and yes, it's you know, because it's the filtering and assisting you in working out stuff, and the stone will be affected. The difference also, when it's aligned, it will then go back to the tree, which means that you don't have to cleanse it. This is what the mother crystal and the guardian does, because they project through, it's self-cleansing. So you can't basically kill it. It's been, you know, enhanced in such a way that it's extremely dynamic, and it will work on you, and it will assist you no matter what happens. You can, however, disconnect yourself from it by being disrespectful or not being present to your own process, because then basically if nobody listens to the radio, it will be switched off. It's that. It's not the stone still, it's you. So it's important to be present to yourself, be present to the stones, and really open up to this whole process. But again, for some people who are not used to crystals, seeing that the stone can change physically, it can be quite a shock. Because it's like, we're taught that can't happen, and yet it can, and it does. So that's part of the fun. But this happens, first of all, when you have aligned crystals, because they are living organisms in a whole different way.
And actually, early on in the first collection, when we were still figuring out the logistics of sending crystals to people outside of Norway, one of the packages sort of didn't show up where it was supposed to, and yet that student had such a vital connection to the stone that he you know, he could sense it, feel it, that he knew, he suddenly got this sign, I've got to go out and talk, because he saw the UPS truck go by, and he went out and just asked, do you happen to have, and he's like, oh, that package has been in the car for like a week, we didn't know where it was. So he had been called out by the crystal to go and get it from the UPS guy. It was really fascinating. Do we have any more questions online?
Yeah, we have sharing. Let's see. Christiana, she wants to share that she did the course. It has single-handedly been the most important thing that she have done. It has made her aware of the extent of herself beyond her stories and patterns. This has transpired in major shifts in concrete, moving to another country and starting a new business. And in perspective, she have done this in connection with the crystals and this wonderful and loving community. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
And Christine is asking, can we buy a personal aligned crystal outside of the course? For example, after a satsang or bodywork and so on.
Yes. The spheres are specific for this course. But yes, it's possible to purchase crystals in general. They will mostly be raw stones that are also aligned, and that we can align to you. So that's absolutely possible, yes. Mm-hmm. Should we have another share?
Yeah, I was thinking I'd like to call on Munich. So that means Daniela, if you can come and turn on your video and your audio and share with us. Daniela's had a really fun process also, partly around signing up for the course in the first place. But whenever she's ready, we'll do that.
Yes, I'm ready.
Perfect.
But I can't start
Thank
the
you.
video. So please, do you hear me?
Yes.
We hear you. Have you turned your video on, Daniela?
I can't do it. So the host is supposed to do it. It tells me that I can't activate the video because the host deactivated it.
Jeanette, could you draw the curtains closed here, please? Thank you. Okay, well, I think we could just, maybe Sandra can work on the video
Yes,
while
I
you
can go on maybe
Yeah.
talk a little bit without the picture and maybe you can see me later. Oh, wait, here we go. Hello.
There she is. Hello.
Finally, picture. Yes, hello from Munich to everyone. And yes, I could talk all evening, as Andy knows, because we have met before. So he asked me to be a little precise on only one of the topics because the crystal course just changed so much within my life and transformed so many different aspects. But what I discovered, and I have a funny story going with that, is that with working with each of the crystals, it improved my ability to make decisions quite with faster and with real uncertainty. So I'm more able to after you know working and getting know myself better. Yeah. So I'm listening to life more actively and more precisely. So when opportunities came up, like this course, I was all into it right away. All my body was vibrating. You need to take this course. Yes, there's something so important in there. And usually I had now myself for deciding, like, you know, listening within myself and deciding quite quickly, I thought. But on this subject, I just couldn't decide and I didn't know what this was about, you know, and I was talking to my friend who had joined I was talking to my friend who joined the Crystal Course 1 and I was like, yeah, I want to do it. And I filled out all the form, but I didn't press the purchase button. And I waited a couple of weeks and then I thought, okay, you really need to sign up for this. You really need to do it. And I ended up doing it again. And then I thought, okay, but you have so much stuff going on in your life, like IKYA says, or, you know, important or not so important life, because all, you know, with meditation going on, you already have enough. You don't have time for this. Okay. So I stopped. And a couple of weeks later, I filled out the form again and I didn't press the button. And I thought, no, it's so much money. And then you know, you need to save on the car. And then, you know, the German safety net came in and all the thoughts like IKYA was talking about. And I couldn't press the button. And then the same afternoon, my boss called and said, okay, you did this project and I'm so glad for that. And I give you a bonus about, you know, 4,400 euro. And I was like, oh, you know, not like you would imagine now I can take the course. No, I was like, no, I'm not worth it. And it was a shitty thing I did in this project. And there were a lot of other people involved. Why don't they get something? So I didn't even realize that life was talking to me and saying, you really should take this course. And a good thing is that you have friends who you talk to, and then they said, okay, maybe you should look into this self-worth issue you've got there, because the typical reaction would have been, yes, I'm taking the money, doing the course. And I was like, oh yeah, I could do that now. So I tried, you know, to open up and work. I had this beautiful rose pots and I was working with it. And the same day I was watching the video of Andy and Ina about the rose pots from the selection 1. And it was a sign, but still I didn't press the button. So at the end, I asked Sandra, is it possible only to buy, you know, like one of the stones? Because I think I need to work on this really important self-worth issue, and this will take years, I guess. So just take this one and then join the course maybe in 10 years or something like that. So I was blocking my growth again and again and again. And then one day before the course was announced, you had to sign in to get the aligned ones. I couldn't find my crystals anymore. They were gone as my rose quartz. And I was really like, okay, I need to get the rose. And then I talked to Sandra, do you think it's possible? And she said, look, why don't you just take the course? You will see life will get better. And I said, okay, I'm thinking about it. Slept one night. And then something happened. When I woke up, I had a lot to do. And I was just sitting there thinking, okay, how would life would be if I'm not signing up for this course? And how would life be if I do? And 2 minutes later, I did sign up for the course. And this same afternoon, I found my rose quartz again. And yes, the last year was quite an adventure. And a couple of months later, when I started the course, I was in a similar situation. I was visiting an art convention, and I was looking at the pieces and was talking to the artist, and I felt so connected right away. I felt like everything was vibrating, and I thought, okay, you need to do that, And then one of the artists, she's doing courses like 2 years in sculpturing with natural material like stones also, but wood and clay. And I said, okay, I need to do that. And then I did do something very untypical. The next day I walked into my boss's office and said, okay, for years I want to take one day off, but now I have to do it because I'm starting a course. And then now it's the worst time and a lot of shitstorm from the colleagues because we had so much to do at work. But I need to do that now. And it would be great if you would make that possible. And I never thought he would say yes, but he did. And everything came as expected. A lot of, going on at work. But with the stones, I was capable of walking just through the chaos. And the other girl, talked about before, it helps you to be so within yourself and feeling confident doing the right decisions and listening to life. And yes, I'm really glad I did this. And the changes came right away, like not only in work, after this huge chaos that we have to walk through before things can get better. Then, people started to act differently, and my boss opened up, and we did a huge workshop where we defined new values, shared values for the company. People started to talk to each other, sitting down with respect. And I didn't see that coming. So immediately it made changes, not only in my life, also in the other ones. And that's when, yes, Andy asked me to do this. And I was like, I know you don't have time. I think now it's important to share. And I feel not only within myself change, I feel it outside as well. And the vibration. And I think the time is right to get into our cars. And maybe I don't have the money to buy the new one, but this car with, I'm driving right now, it's my own with this course, like, yes, with the crystals, I will have them all my life. Cars come and go, but this vibrations, this immense power they have and they bring into your life. Yes, you will have that for this journey. And I'm so grateful for that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any more questions?
I want to add something, Sandra here from Germany.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And this is actually for all the new ones who haven't been at the course. I just want to highlight that we have the possibility to ask you, IKYA, also questions on the workshop. So after the teachings, I think this was from my own path, so much support and help to really can also ask questions if you dare to do that. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that this is the possibility, and I think it's important information. So yeah, just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
That points to that there are 2 teachings per month. The first we have called the teaching, the second we've called the workshop. And normally toward the end of the second teaching, there's time that IKYA can answer questions from people's experience that month. Do we have, yeah?
So I have a question. When the crystal works individually with everyone, when you have a workshop, IKYA, after the crystal comes, there are things that happen in my life that are exactly what you talk about in your workshops. And to the point where if you use an example of planting plants, it's almost like you're talking to me, and that my life is mirrored specifically to specific things that you talk about. I know that a lot of people feel this way. How in the world does that happen? And what are you doing? Like, what is happening here?
Okay. Now, it's a good question, because to most people, this may sound quite mystical. How do we do that? Because as it seems kind of magical, that yes, we can go into people's life and make the same things happen in different versions in people's lives. But if you relate to this being a projection, right? This is basically what we see, what we sense is waves and radiation. We have, in reality, normally, like in the world of physics, when it's starting to relating to the projection level, and then you have the information level. As you expand consciousness, you're able to operate more at information level, and you're able to work with life more directly in principle. You don't need to go through the projection. You understand that that is basically a side effect. Consciousness is what is real. So when you work with consciousness directly, you're able to go in and create manifestations and send kind of impulses that will be filtered through then the individual karma, the individual lifetime, and then create manifestations. So in a way, you can send out the same impulse, and then it hits different individuals. It will be filtered through their karma, through their journey, and they will end up with kind of their version of the manifestation based on what they are studying. So once you know how to do it, it's quite simple. But it's when we look at it from a human perspective, it's like, can this even be done? But when you're not human, it's a no-brainer. It's not very difficult. And part of being in spiritual service is that this is what you do. The whole purpose of your existence is to promote growth and healing and expanded awareness in others. So you learn how to do that. And to me, the best way to teach is not by doing what I'm doing now. It's by working directly in people's lives. Because again, I want to enhance people's experience of that as a training arena, and for them to practice and to build their own skill set. So I project what I teach into people's lives when they want me to do so, of course. And then they get to train and draw their own conclusions and learn about life and principles more directly in ways that are impossible to explain. Because when it comes to teachings, I have to use words. I can explain principles and give you modules and ideas and all that, but it's not the same as you experiencing it directly, right? So that's part of it, giving you the opportunity to experience directly, and by that become aware of your own tools and consciousness and how to interact with life. So everyone in service kind of do this. And so understand that when you live your life, it is a co-creation. You know, you are part in creating your own lifetime, but it's a whole team of individuals invested in your unfoldment. And, you know, it's that saying, it takes a village, you know, it's really true. And in a way, in this culture among humans experience loneliness, and they seek religion because they don't understand how things work, not realizing that they already have a spiritual family. They have enormous resources available to them, rooting for them, wanting them to succeed, and who actively interfere, because it's part of how life works. As you grow spiritually, you become a gardener. And, you know, the plants don't necessarily know that you are there. That's not the point. You bring each plant to the full potential because that's what you do. You bring out the beauty, and you learn how to do that. And that's what you get out of it. It's you know, enhancing beauty and just seeing someone blooming. That's why you do it. So it is what you do. And humans, for the most part, have no idea, and they, in a way, don't have to know. Just like plants in the garden have no idea, you know, who's caring for them, and, you know, they just bloom or not. But in your own life, there is so much assistance, so much help, and anyone who reaches a certain level in their own spiritual evolution becomes a being of service, because one understands that that's the only thing left to do. It's to give back. When you realize that you've already been given everything, that everything has been given, everything is available, and you understand, oh, okay, I have to give, you'll be drawn to that. It becomes a greater part of your life until it consumes you completely. And it's natural. It's not sacrifice. It's not self-suppression. It's none of that. It's the opposite. It's understanding that the only way you can be everything that you are is by giving it. So you give more and more because you realize it's how what you are becomes alive. It's only alive when it makes someone else grow. So this is why. So in your life, when you think you're just moving through your life, it's created for you. Everything is happening for you. And there's so many being involved with just you going through a lifetime. And hopefully also working with this course, you will become more aware of that and learn how to interact with different beings and different types of consciousness, and understanding that it's one big organism. It's one big consciousness, and we're all part of it. This is also why when beings in service wants to assist you in unfolding, it's because what you have, what you are, is unique. And it's only when you unfold yourself that it becomes available to the universe. Knowing that you carry a specific shade of color that is unique to you, it will only exist the moment you have unfolded completely. So this is why all universe wants you to unfold, why everyone at a certain level of consciousness will do everything to assist you always, ever, until that unfoldment has happened. Because everybody knows that what you carry is unique. It has to unfold, otherwise it doesn't exist. And the more you do it, the more it takes over, because you just want to release more and more colors, because that's how reality expands. So it's completely natural. And therefore also letting yourself be unfolded. Understand, it's not just up to you. It's allowing others to assist you and to receive that love and to learn to pass it on. This is also part of the course of learning to work with spiritual presence in different ways, and to see it as completely natural and kind of restore natural spirituality in your humanness. Because humans make spirituality and religion, it's so weird. It's so strange. It's just who we are, and to peel away everything that we are not, and to learn about life as this enormous loving organism and to be part of it and being in alignment with it. And you have to do it your own unique way because it's the only way you can unfold what is unique. So the respect for the autonomy of you is fundamental for this course and everything I teach. And it's also for you to grow into the respect for what you are uniquely. Part of being human is always trying to be what other people are. Humans copy and copy and copy because they're afraid of if they're unique, something bad will happen. You know, as a biological life form, yes, we're supposed to copy that safety, that survival, but spiritually, we're supposed to do the opposite. So at some point also in our evolution, we get to the point where we start recognizing that there is something in me that wants to come out, and then we have no idea how to do it. But it's completely natural. So this study program is about you unfolding your true essence and restoring natural connectedness and becoming competent in your dialogue with life so that you can also be someone who makes others grow. So this is also why it's so important that you practice. Every month you will be getting new practices, new things you should focus on in your life. And it's so important that you do practice because that unlocks you. It's not about you doing a great job and, you know, getting praise. It's about you unlocking yourself and understanding that when working with a specific crystal and the practices that come with that stone, your efforts will be amplified enormously. So you can have breakthroughs and you can cut through your karma in ways you're not able to do on your own. It's all about you and unfolding as much as you possibly can within one lifetime to then go beyond your suffering, beyond your karma, and move into the potentials of everything you can be, everything you can do when you unlock yourself. So it's also kind of deciphering your own resistance, deciphering how to do this for real, because as a belief, hope, submission, following will not do it. And this is why, you know, people in this course get inspired, and hopefully more and more inspired as they get results. Yeah.
Because it's important also to repeat that when we say practice, it's not just the meditation. The meditation's key, but with every crystal comes a call to action, a call to live, to try things out in your life, to bring the principles to life, really, and make them alive. And to me, again, that's such a fundamental aspect of this course that separates it from anything else I've ever come across, because it's really about, as we talk about, I think, incarnating. You know, you have a principle, right? Well, it can't become real unless we make it happen in this manifested world. That's why we're here. So, yeah. I think we'd like to, because someone, Barbara in the Netherlands, if she'd like to turn her video and audio on, she has herself done some unfolding in this course and really discovered a bit more about herself. And Barbara, we're running close on time, so we're going to ask you to be as precise as you can be, because you're going to be the last one to share before we wrap up for the evening.
Yeah, okay. That's been a challenge preparing. Yeah, because it's so much in the crystal course what's happening. Well, we spoke a bit through it, Andy. There's actually one example that is very important for me to share. I can start with that. It's been really in my life to make a decision and be more confident. And I worked a lot with my family. And when the crystal course started, then actually the yellow aventurine just drew me straight into the course. And it was also speaking to me. And I saw it during a silent retreat in Oslo. And then I went to the yellow aventurine and it was speaking to me. And I was like doing like, oh, it's you. It's like, I don't want it. but it was drawing me straight into the course, and actually in the point that I needed to speak out to my family and not holding back, and especially with my mom. And I've been in the last 2 years on and off with contact with her. I have contact, not contact. And now in the last process with the septarian, then I could really connect to the stillness and presence and be more present to what is. And in that process with the septarian, then I also lost my dad. And then actually after his death, everything became crystal clear. And then I really took a decision like, okay, now I call up my mom and I call her and I have to break up actually to just decide I have not contact, because I've been in this process of having contact, but in the meanwhile eating up myself. And then things were not working in my life, in work, what I actually want to do. And then I really decided, okay, I do this, and I stopped the contact for now. And then I got a lot of projections towards me, but it became very clear that it's my own projections, like making myself smaller or like making it less than it was. And the big shift from the beginning of the course with the Yellow Aventurine and where I am now with the Septarian and when we went to the Tiger Stone is that I actually do it. That I take a decision and be in it and also stay with it. And the most important difference for me is that I actually have to decide at every moment, because I got in the Tiger Stone also same responses with the Yellow Aventurine, that I like, oh, I don't want you, I just, I don't want it. But it's all these parts of that I actually do things in my life. And this has been such a struggle, this part, to actually do it. And now when I've done it, then I feel I need to take it, the decision, take it over and over again, because I started to project it also in work, in relationships. And then I had to take myself by the ear of like, hey, wait, from where are you speaking? Like, are you, yeah, that it's so difficult to explain, but that it's really a decision that is more grounded in me, that it's coming more from the inside. Because what was mirroring in me in the Tiger Stone was what am I actually passionate for? What do I want to do in life? And it has to come from here. It's so yeah. The first year has been really with grounding, and the second year is really to do to do stuff. That's the part where I am now. So
Wonderful.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Now, before we close, do you have any like practical information?
I mean, some of the highlights of the course, guys, it's a year, it's a journey, it's 12 individual crystals. We send them wherever you are. It's also to just Martha popped into my head because Martha's also been exploring what it's like to relate to this course without a steady internet connection, or you know, being able to kind of follow every teaching live and that kind of thing. And we also want to encourage you guys to relax. Like, the beauty of recording every teaching, making it available online that you can watch it anytime, as many times as you want, means that you can also be kind of wherever you are and do kind of live your life, because that's really the point. People have asked, like, should I try to box myself in, find a rhythm and a routine or something? No, do the opposite. Live your life, make big, bold decisions. We will help you, we'll send the crystals wherever you are, and that it's on IKYA Learning all the time means it's flexible, it's easy. And I think for me, it also highlights, I want to say it one more time, these crystals are alive, the teachings are alive. It's like they're massaging your shoulders the entire time, reminding you. So regardless of, how connected you feel through, live teachings and things, doesn't matter. The course, the teachings work with you. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also, as you connect with this course, you're part of it. You become part of that space and part of those teachings. Remember that most of this happens directly through you. It happens directly in your consciousness. And that process starts from the very beginning and is a continuous process throughout the course. What happens physically with a teaching is one part of it. But then, as we talked about, it's about how you work in your life, how you discover the teachings manifesting and how you interact with it and have fun and play and explore and get more free. So it is important that you kind of take ownership of your own journey in this and have as much fun as you possibly can, because this is ultimately about you setting yourself free. You becoming competent in using your tools, discovering everything that you are and applying it to life. And that has to happen your way, right? And this is a support system. This is to give you what you need in order to do so. So this is not instead of living, it's to amplify your ability to live and to squeeze as much out of the lemon that is your life as possible. So approach this with joy and with that curiosity about finding out what you're made of, because I can guarantee you that you're made of much more than you are aware of, and it's all good. It's all what you think of as bad stuff. It's not who you are. That's misunderstandings. It's based on pain. It's based on, what you're going through, and that creates identity. This course will assist you in peeling off as much of that as possible. So what you are left with is your true essence. Also in a way that you as a person can understand and relate to. So you can start living from that essence and express it and kind of let it shine in the world. So this is really what this course is about. And we hope we can inspire you to take part, because it's such a wonderful journey. And please also, you newbies, talk with people in the course and just listen to their experience, and because it's too much to convey in a little open house like this. But this is real. These things are happening. The transformations are deep and high and wide, and it just gets more fun as you go, because you kind of get into it and you start to realize more how you can explore in your own life, right? And set yourself free and do things you never thought possible. Everybody goes through things like boundaries and see that they can do things they said, I can never do that. They do that. So you as a person even will experience an expansion of your own life, expansion of what is possible, expansion of how you see yourself. And you will become more daring, more like bold and free, and you will express yourself more directly, and you will get results. Because this is what it's all about. It's about results. It's one thing to have a garden. It's a whole different thing to make it bloom. So that's what this is about, is to make you bloom completely and fully, and you being aware of what's going on, and for you to learn that craftsmanship. So you become not just a gardener in your own garden, you become a gardener in life. It takes time, it takes dedication, but the study program is about that transformation and assisting you in waking up for real, for the last time. Instead of attempting and hoping, you will learn how to do it, and it will work.
So where do we go from here? Well, we had you register tonight so we can follow up with you, but also to open the door so that you also feel you can follow up with us. Truly, it's an open door. If you have any remaining questions, doubts, concerns, let us know. But also, there are people among all of you who are in the current course. Ask them what it's like, ask them tell them your fears or your joys or whatever it might be. But if there's anything standing in the way between you and the gift of this course, let us know. We'd be happy to chat with you about it. We're going to also make this recording available online so that you can watch it again if you'd like. And I think that's about, on a practical note, if you are, thinking about it and you're going to sign up, the 18th of May, next Wednesday, we've set that as the official deadline to sign up to guarantee that we have your crystals personally aligned and ready for you at the first teaching, because it is a physical process that takes time and it's a lot of people to coordinate. We have to send around the world and the whole thing. So that means next Wednesday. That said, it's not, of course, the final deadline, but it's an important deadline because that's where we can guarantee that your crystals are ready. And a reminder then, the course opens with a very important introductory evening with IKYA on really the nitty-gritty of how to do this course for real, what it takes to squeeze it for all it's worth. And that's on the 1st of June. And then the first teaching with your first crystals on the 8th of June. So I think that's all the practical stuff.
Yes.
And
so thank you all for coming.
yeah, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Okay.